Let me let me know in the comments. I would love to know how you are, how you're doing, and what's good. Oh, hi. Hi, Jen. Oh my goodness. Hello. It's so nice to feel your vibe. Ooh, how are you? How is everyone doing? It has been first of all, fast and furious month here as we tune into the energy of January. It is, oh, hi, Nina. Oh my goodness. It's so good to see everybody. It has been, first of all, it's fucking freezing where I am. It has been. I know if any of you are in the East Coast, you may also have been hit by just like the wave of brutal cold. It's intense. It's no joke. I'm, my apartment is like lovely and warm and all the things, but it is still cold AF. And I'm just not that. The truth is that as a long game for my life. Hi, Melissa. Um, as a long game for my life, I would ultimately like to live somewhere warmer, which is definitely on the slate for me this year is relocating to a warmer climate. I have my eye on Florida, and I'm very excited about that because if you know anything about me, I've lived in 8 states over the course of my life. And I often end up back in the Northeast in some capacity. There's something I do really love about the energy, but every time winter hits, I'm like, I'm allergic to the cold. Do not like, do not like, do not like. And so I'm just like reminded every year that it would really behoove me to move somewhere a little warmer. And I'm feeling that this week as the temperature here is really intense and low and all the things. So I'm recording this on January 18th and of 2024 now. Oh my God. I can barely keep track of time. You guys know that I've always got a real bee in my bonnet about time and how much time is changing as we move deeper into the energies of New Earth, right? Time is literally evaporating, dissolving, whatever we want to call it. And it definitely continues. Again, every month I'm like, let me talk a little bit about time, but time continues to really shift, and that feeling of boop, I blinked my eyes and all of a sudden it's next week, or it's you know next month, right? Like, how are we already more than halfway through this month? It certainly doesn't feel like time moves the way that it used to, even going back in time, quote unquote, a few years. So the this shift that we're moving through of entering the golden age, right? I always say it's like we're literally moving into this place of there's nothing except the now moment, right? And I think that that continues to be very thematic. Another really big thing. So last month when I did a couple different energy forecasts in December, and a really good one in November as well. So if you have not tuned into those, if this is the first time you're finding me, I recommend going back and re-listening to them because they all build on each other in terms of setting a stage, in terms of where we are right now and what we're going to be moving into. So the last energy forecast that I did, which I believe was a December 22nd, the energy of Archangel Sandalphon and Archangel Metatron came through really hot and heavy. So Metatron is the angel of speed. Sandalphon is the angel of music. And both of those vibrations came through really strong. They were both very present while I channeled last month's forecast. And this month, especially as I was leaning into the energy of like where we are, where we're headed, sort of what's up for each of us as we move through this year and through this month in particular, so many really big cosmic vibrations, ascended masters, angels, really a very wide range of beings were present as I got ready, and they're with us here now, right? They're flowing through me because we're really in it. This thing that each of us has been waiting for our whole life, whether you're consciously aware of it or not. You know, this movement into the new earth is a really big fucking vibe, and it is on so massively at this point, right? There's no turning back. That's one of the things that, like, I literally, when I'm like, close my eyes for a second and I look at all of the beings that are present here with us in this moment, makes me really emotional because of how much support we have from a cosmic perspective. Um, it's really fucking beautiful. And it can feel kind of lonely down here, right? Sometimes, especially as so many of us, you know, sort of lived a life preparing for this now moment, but we have so much beauty. We have so much love. We literally have every realm of light that exists, here with us right now, because that's one of my prime and most potent gifts is that I have the capacity to channel all realms. I am a bridge between all worlds and a source of potent remembrance, and activation. And one of the things when I was sitting with my guides getting ready to do this, some really big, we'll call them big guns from spirit, creative energy, true visionaries. These are beings, souls that I have worked with for a long time. They have been some, we'll call them my spirit artistic mentors. But some really beautiful energies flowed through me, and I communicated with them in terms of where we are right now, this month, what the theme is this month. This month is so much about cultivating the energy of creativity. And I saw that coming because in the fall, some of you are aware of the fact that I got a download to do three, what the guides called, the New Earth Prosperity Trifecta. And the energies that they highlighted as being like the three key components to that, new earth prosperity energy, right? The way that we will really, each of us, be able to live in flow, live in abundance, really anchor into the truth of who we are abundance, creativity, and love. And I did a 30-day Voxer broadcast in the fall. It started in November, I guess in the winter rather, November and December. That was really fun. And then this month I was shown that it would be time to do, the codes for creativity. That starts at the end of this month. So I knew, that's all to say. I'm going to talk more about that, towards the end. But the reason I bring that in now is because that vibration of creativity was something that I saw being very important to really cultivate as we move through the energy of this month. Because creativity it's not just about, you know, oh, I'm an artist, I do X, Y, and Z. Like, certainly, many of you who find me are indeed profoundly gifted artists. I have a, I've worked with a lot of really, really brilliant creative visionaries, painters, all kinds of different like ways of expressing, what amounts, in my opinion, to your divine gifts, right? If you are an artist, then you are living in concert with divine flow in so many different ways. So that energy, like, I saw that coming for this month, right? So when I sat down to sit with my guides and really like tune into the frequencies that wanted to be present here with us, there were a couple of really cool frequencies that came through. One of them, if you know me, you know that music has always been, I have channeled, Sandalphon, the angel of music, since I was born. Music is so important to me. I use so much sound in my healing. And Arthur Russell, who is, no longer of this earthly plane, is in spirit, but was one of the most visionary thinkers that has ever existed on earth. His music is, it's if you don't know him, and I can only, recommend that you like dive so into his work. If you, it's not for everyone. His music is a certain vibe. He had a very experimental way of really integrating a lot of very fun different kinds of music. Like, some of his music is really poppy and you could like pop it on at the club. Some of it is hyper experimental, some of it is very moody and melodic. Like, he had an incredible range. He was truly, I would say, one of the most, creative thinkers who has ever been in a human body. And so I communicated with his energy leading up to this. One of my favorite artists, who is a visual artist who is also in spirit now, she came through very strongly. Louise Bourgeois, who is, She did all kinds of really different, really interesting art. She did a lot of fascinating, like sculpture using all kinds of different tools. Like one of I don't know, I want to say like 15 or 20 years ago, I got to see an exhibit of hers at the Worcester Art Museum, which is where I was born and also where I was living at the time. And it was just so cool because she used so many different, right? She used metal, she used fabric and fibers. She was another one who literally changed the landscape of possibility on earth in terms of the way that she thinks. And so uh that was also really fun. And of course, you guys know I love Hilma F. Clint. She's another one who came through hot and heavy and is one of my guides, right? These like beings of like pure motherfucking crazy cosmic vision being channeled through their art to help people wake up and remember who they are. So those energies all came through very powerfully as I lean into what we need to cultivate in ourselves. And one of the big reasons that this is so important is because of what I mentioned in the notes for this. One of the things that I mentioned when I set this up is that I tuned into this, right? We have January is like a curious month, right? We have like the big buzz of collective momentum because, in theory, based on the Gregorian calendar, the new year is on January 1st. However, from a broader perspective, so many ancient religions and more earth based communities celebrated the new year in the spring. And if you think of it just in terms of like intuitive relationship to the earth, right? January and February are very much, I'm certainly in the northern hemisphere where I am, can be very, right? We're in winter, we're in cold, but even when you think about like the polarity of how in the summer sometimes that energy of like of needing to really go inward, of needing to be in a place where you are resting a lot, right? To me, the fall and the spring and the fall are times when I tend to have like a lot of capacity to be move from a 3D perspective in a fast way. And in the winter and the summer, right, which are like the polarities of each other. And if you think of it in terms of the northern and the southern hemispheres on Earth, they're like actual polarities, right? And so this is really a time, whether you're in summer or winter, a time to really lean into, um, you know, rest, restoration, nourishment. And one of the big reasons that creativity is so potently, the guides are like, think creatively, really work your creative muscle, really lean into being able to start to find innovative new ways right now, especially to, I mean, this sounds like so corny, but literally work smarter, not harder. And so, one of the other reasons why I think that cultivating creativity right now is so important is um, we need some fucking innovative, creative solutions to the quote unquote problems that we are facing as a global community. I say this all the time, but there is no system on earth that does not need to be completely recalibrated. And if you're here with me now, there is some way, some of you really deeply understand what that is, right? And some of you are newer to the journey and are still flushing that out. But if you have found me, that means, based on my relationship to the divine and what the guides have told me since I have memories as a baby, is that if you found me, it means that you have a completely innovative way, a solution that either lives in your heart, in your 3D reality, depending on where you are on the journey, that you possess innovative solutions and essential antidotes to these, you know, systems that need to be recalibrated. And what's cool, in my opinion, about all of you and about everyone who ever finds this now or 10 years from now, is that you are really being called to cultivate a level of creativity to really expand your capacity to hold multiple perspectives, which I have often said the ability to hold multiple perspectives and like live in concert and peace and harmony with people who think differently than you is a pillar of ascension. And the other thing is that we literally need you, right? Like as I close my eyes again and I like lean into all of the energies that are present here with us, right? There's this like literal chorus of millions of star beings who are cheering all of us on right now. It is time to deeply lean into what you are being called to do. And that requires you, right, to start to move and live in different ways, to start to expand your creative vision. It might be as simple as, sitting down and whipping out like a sketch pad and some crayons and starting to get that creative movement going. Maybe you've been being called to, learn how to cook or ferment things or do any kind of art or start to move your body in new ways. Learn how to do something like, do energy healing or channel or whatever the thing is. And to me, especially the capacity to channel right now, which we all have, every single person on earth has a connection to God, divine, source, spirit, whatever word we want to put on the energy of creation. We all have that gift. I was born with the unique capacity to speak to my guides in a conscious way from the time I was a baby and have memories. And I chose that for myself so that I could be here with you now and help you remember that you too possess that. It might not look the same as the way that I communicate with my guides, but to me, one of the most important reasons that any of us are going to really work on cultivating that relationship to creativity is because creativity and beauty are a portal through which we commune with and understand the divine, which is how we understand ourselves, how we move through the world with flow and grace, and why there's such a big call to action right now to really start to like think in bigger, more innovative ways. Collaboration is a big vibe right now, right? To tie into that idea of working smarter versus harder. I moved it before. I was just gonna grab something. You guys know I love my I had to do like a little show and tell, but I did there in the other room. I have a photo that I took of it, but I built an altar in honor of this energy of profound creativity. And I kept being shown to put pairs of things on the altar. Like, you'll see when I'll post a picture in the group after I wrap this up. But it's just so interesting because I've always been very aware of the fact that there is it almost doesn't even make sense. Like if you think about how when one person helps you do a task, right? The amount that two people can get done versus one person, it's like exponential. It doesn't like the math doesn't even add up. It's like having someone help you creates this like level of expansion and energy and speed that is different than if you're just trying to do something alone. And then when you go from 2 people to 3 people, 3 people to 4 people, 4 people to 400, you see what it just the momentum continues to grow and grow and grow and grow. And so this vibration of collaboration as it relates to creativity, of really starting to look around you and say, all right, how can it's like the guides are like, work harder, not smarter, harder, not smarter, harder, not smarter. What can you do, right? If you were an entrepreneur, how can you start to like leverage using content that you've already created, right? Like maybe you're doing something like this where you're doing lives or what have you, and really finding ways to be able to utilize what you've already created, again, to work smarter, not harder. And then that concept of collaboration feels so, so important. So if there's been some, some person or something that you've had your eye on, like maybe you have a podcast or you have, you have a business you've been thinking about, doing like some sort of shared event, this is a really good time to lean into that energy because, again, we are in a window of collective expansion because people get really excited by the quote unquote momentum of the new year. And that is real. And like, how can you leverage that collective energy, right? Towards, we're nearing the end of it, but we're Capricorn season, right? We know it's like a good time to just like cultivate things and get things done. And then we're going to be moving at the end of this week into Aquarian season, right? So again, like that energy of just like cosmic vision. And what can you do? I suspect that there are ways that each of you, if you're listening to this, that you have been being called to engage in a deeper level of collaboration. And I'm curious if that like resonates, let me know in the comments, because I think it would just be like really fun to know if that feels really meaningful to you. I would love to hear about it. So, all right, so let me look here because I channeled as I was communicating with, oh, here we go. All right. With the guides. All right. Okay. So yeah, I made a whole bunch of different notes on things that I wanted to make sure I hit on. So related to this, okay, this concept of math, essentially, the math of 1 to 2 to 3 to exponential, expansion and creation. You may have heard me say this before, but years ago when I would tune into and I would sit in meditation and, sit in the astral, the quantum field, whatever we want to call it, and I would tune into where we were going as a collective. I coined the term the economy of generosity because that was sort of like how I perceived what the guides would show me we were headed as we entered the new earth. And what's so related to that, right? I already talked about the sort of surreal impact that we know happens when someone helps us do a task. It's like, whoa, something that might have taken me 10 hours on my own is going to take me somehow like 1.5 or 2 with someone helping me, right? There is a way where that is related to this concept of the economy of generosity. And I have 2 things that I wanted to make sure that I brought up. The guides were like, don't forget these. So my little notepad here. The first one is that years ago, I read a study which I don't remember like where it was done, but there was research done about the impact of food stamps, which are now called SNAP benefits, in the United States, which is like if you don't live in the US, it's public assistance to be able to help people who are at a certain income level be able to buy groceries. And the study was fascinating because we're told left, right, and center that being generous doesn't help anything. And like, yeah, we don't want to victimize and enable people. And I appreciate all of that. But this study has never left me because one of the things that it showed that they were able to discover was that for every $1 of food stamps spent in a local community, it generated $8 of income for that community, which is so, first of all, the number 8, right? And this is related to the math of it and why I wanted to really highlight that. First of all, the number 8 is such a curious number, right? Because it's literally the infinity symbol if we flip it on our side, which leads me into my next point. Because around that same time that I uncovered that truth about how for every $1 spent, you generate $8 for your local community, which is something we want, right? We want to build community. We want to create more income and more flow and more beauty and more joy. And one of the ways that we can all do that is by engaging in ways of moving through the world that is creative. It comes from that place of gratitude and love and true receipt, which is an act of both giving and receiving, which brings me back to that $8. And then we flip the 8 on its side and we go from the number 8, right, to the infinity symbol. And some of you have heard me say this before, but it was like very important for me to make sure to bring this into the live, is that the guides showed me years ago that what we perceive to be the multiplication symbol, right, which is that sort of sideways long X, that it's incomplete. The true multiplication symbol from a divine perspective, from a, we could just, we'll call it misinformation campaigns that happen down here on earth, where we're not actually told the truth about how things really work from a divine and cosmic perspective. This is an incomplete symbol of flow and abundance, the multiplication symbol, and that in order for it to be quote unquote complete and accurate from a cosmic perspective, from a way that actually moves within for each of us, is to add a loop at the end. And so it goes from being those two X's and it turns into the infinity symbol. That is very important because, again, the act of creation, the act of truly being able to live in an abundant world that moves within for each of us, where we are really showing up for ourselves and for the world and being able to just like live in delight and pleasure. It's so important that we start to remember these deeper truths, no matter what kind of chitter chatter is happening around us. Right? I remember getting real bent out of shape when I was in college. I actually just recently found a notebook that I didn't even know I still had, which was notes from a class that I took at Wesleyan University in the late 90s, and it was about globalization. And I remember getting real bent out of shape. If anyone is listening to this and was in that class, and I was like a broken record. I could not let it down. It was very evident to me that a lot of the measures that were being implemented at that time by places like the IMF and the World Bank, which were very heavy-handed by way of austerity measures, as a way to be able to, create change and sort of dial back and get countries back in quote unquote order, whatever the thing was. And I was like, there's a lot of evidence that austerity measures do not work. Tightening up, contracting is not the way that we create expansion. Because that energy of contraction, right? It's like, oh, like we all know, right? We've all been there. We've all had moments in our human experience where we did contract, where we had, some fear, where we had some worry, right? And that's hard because especially when you're in financial struggle or stress, like to be like, oh, I'm going to live really generously and cool and easy and like move and flow. It can feel really stressful. And that is also why it is so important, again, to lean into cultivating your sacred channel, which brings me into my next point. As we move more into this year and moving beyond this year, you already know there's a big push to engage with artificial intelligence in a much deeper way. I'm not going to pretend that there are not some awesome things about AI and some ways that we could really use it as a collective to create beautiful things. But there's another way where I have noticed a lot of people abdicating their own connection to their intuition, to their sacred side and their vision by doing things like using, chatbots to create content. Now, listen, I'm not saying again that there's maybe not a way to do that, so it really does work for you. But at the end of the day, from my perspective, and this was very important, and the guides were like, make sure that you bring this one to the table. It's that you don't need AI if you are living in concert with your divine channel of wisdom. It literally doesn't matter what, like, that's why you cultivate your spiritual gifts. That's, you have a you are your own best point of creation. And so, to me, finding ways as we move through this year and into the next to be able to use artificial intelligence in a way that feels good and easy, right? I'm not gonna, like, I love being able to go into system I use to generate emails for my newsletter and do something ahead of time and have it, auto send out the next day at a specific time. That's awesome. That genuinely helps me. But from a content perspective, from a creation perspective, right? There were certain artists who use AI um, in my opinion, in ways that are so dynamic and so beautiful. And then there are other ways where if you rely too heavily, it's going to be a real delicate dance, is what I'm saying. And I am being shown, I mean, you guys know this, my big thing is ultimately helping you connect back to the way that you are a sacred channel so that you are able to use your divine wisdom and cultivate that in a way so that that is your point of navigation, so that that is the point from which you move. Because when you do that, when you cultivate your own divine gifts, you start to really understand how to move in a way that works with and for you, how to move through all parts of your life, personally and professionally, really listening to and honoring your sacred calling. And the last, so related to that, right, there are some really fun ways that I have created, some cool ways to work with me going forward, which I'll get into in a second to be able to help you really cultivate that. But that's ultimately, right, why you work with me, why you found me, so that I can help you unlock your own channel so that you too can become a crystal clear channel, and you can use that wisdom from your ancestors, from your cosmic family, from the angels and the fairies and the elements and the earth and your future self and all of the realms of ascended masters and gods and goddesses and beauty that is with us always, whether we are aware of it from a human perspective or not, and having that be your golden compass as we move forward. Instead of getting like swept into something that has, again, the capacity to help us from a human perspective, but is also in a lot of ways, I've seen a lot of people use AI in a way that does not feel good or authentic and feels like way more of a crutch and an abdication of your own authority. And that is, I don't want to be judgmental. I know that we all have our own path. I'm not saying this in any way to be judgmental. I appreciate that we all have different ways of living, and we came here for different reasons from a soul growth perspective. And I do not want to ignore and minimize that. But cultivating your spiritual gifts is the greatest currency that exists right now. Your intuition is how you will be able to build a level of freedom and joy and wealth, creativity, ascension, joy, all of the things. Right? It was such a curious thing for me to start sharing my modality with people, because I pretty quickly realized that yes, someone would find me so that I could help them with a health problem, or to create like a momentum in their business or whatever the thing was, and it just consistently was amazing, because no matter why someone found me, there were some pretty steady, consistent things that unfolded when people would start to work with me. I would often spontaneously activate people's channel and their capacity to channel. And people would, again, start making more money. They would start to experience, deeper levels of pleasure and joy. And so there were these consistent things that were happening that were beyond whatever it is that someone had imagined had brought them to my door, as it were. Right. And I think that that is like, ultimately, it's why I say that your spiritual gifts are your greatest currency, and the point from which you will be able to really figure out how to live in a way that is authentic to you, fun, expansive, that creates freedom and impact. And so the last point I want to make before I wrap it up, I know this is now we're hitting the like 40-minute mark, and I want to be respectful of everybody's time. One of the things that I was shown, the last point that the guys, and I'm laughing, you'll see in a minute why I'm laughing about this. All right, so I have two cats. You guys know this. Jack and Ginger, they hilariously were born 3 days before my own birthday. It's a house full of Tauruses. Jen, I, I said something to you about that earlier. But yeah, there is a so my cats, Jack and Ginger, my sweet little boom booms, my sweet little cosmic guardians, who are both taking naps right now, so they cannot come say hi to you all while I talk about them. But they're both intergalactic wizards. They both came here. I mean, bless them both, because straight up, you guys, especially during what I'll call my messy years, they helped keep me tethered to this earth. I love them both so much. They are truly part of my cosmic family, and they are here for me to help keep me on the straight and narrow, as it were, right? Getting up every day, really being like fully on my sacred calling. And my cat Ginger, little intergalactic wizard, I do this thing where where we like put our foreheads, cats love to put their forehead on your forehead and do the like headbutt move. It's a sign of like deep love, and we like to do that. And I always give her little kisses while we're doing it, and I ask her this question that I've asked her for years, and it goes like this. The thing that I often say to her is, listen to me. And then I say, what are you doing? And she loves it. She laughs so much, because it's like a joke that the two of us have about how she's like often she like astral travels. She has portals in this house where she goes and does work for the battle of light and dark, where I'm like, where did you go? And all of a sudden I will like literally look down and she'll appear at my feet. So this boom boom is like always off doing some sort of cosmic work. Which is a very, very busy bee. And so it's like a joke between the two of us about her secret life among the stars, right? Like I know it. And the guides, like the other night I was asking her, my favorite question, where I'm like, listen to me, what are you doing? And the guides were like, share this with the group. And here's the thing, the meaning for you is a little different than Ginger the cat. With her, it's this joke about, again, her secret life among the stars. If it doesn't make any sense, also, it's like totally, if you're like listening to this and you're like, I don't know what she's even talking about, just tune into the frequency. It doesn't matter that much. I mean, yeah, the words are important. That's more the vibe, right? It's like, that's really my gift, is the frequency, this energy that I'm transmitting from all the guides. So the guides were like, so the thing is, right, the meaning for each of you who's listening to this is a little different than it is for Ginger the cat. And for you, the question is, so first, the first part of it, listen to me, is like tune in, right? Feel the vibration. What is happening in your heart as you hear these words, where I'm inviting you to listen to this frequency of expansion, of creativity, of bold moves, of big thinking, of taking your wacky, innovative idea that's never been done, but that it is an antidote to something. Right? That's like the first part of it, is like, listen to this inspiring little bit of energy, which is really calling you forward. And the second part, what are you doing, is an invitation to you, starseed, visionary, revolutionary thinker, new earth leader in some really beautiful capacity. If you have found your way to me, how are you honoring your sacred calling? Even if wherever you are in the journey, maybe you've been honoring it for years, it's time to ramp it up a little more. Maybe you're more at the beginning of the journey. You're not fully clear on what that looks like. Wherever you are, it is time to up your game. And again, that's where it's like this energy of working smarter, not harder. Honoring your sacred vision, of honoring your sacred calling. How are you working to amplify the way that you communicate with yourself? How are you showing up every day And really, even if it, isn't, it doesn't always have to be like massive. Sometimes we make small moves in the direction. Sometimes we make big moves in the direction. But how are you honoring your own ascension path? How are you meeting yourself in ways that inspire action towards understanding and living with the vibration of your own sacred mystery? How are you consciously working? These are all questions that I channeled. How are you consciously working to open your divine channel, to clear the noise, to clear the frequencies around you, to clear out the ancestral noise, the noise from the collective, the noise from the systems? How are you honoring your own understanding? What have you been putting off? I brought this up in December, but I'm being shown that there are things that each of us knows we have needed to do for some time. It might be 6 months, it might be a literal lifetime. And we can no longer put those things on the back burner. We are at a point in the collective and individual ascension process where it is required of each of us to boldly embody level of awareness about the enormity of our own power and really taking care of our human vessel, our body, right? I've heard people say that this is the year of the light worker. And I believe that it is. I think that the ways that light workers are going to really be the solution, the visionaries through which we shift all of the systems on Earth that are in the process of being recalibrated back to a sacred frequency, is by honoring these things that you know about yourself. And so if there are things that you have been saying, oh, tomorrow I will do that, next year I will do that, that's on my 5 and 10-year plan. It's not to like put a ton of pressure on you. It is to invite you to start to say, the time is actually now. 2024, when I look back at the end of this year, how will I have moved my own needle? How will I have retuned my frequency so I am on those hits? I am creating something beautiful. I am integrating my own cosmic gifts. I mean, that's the cool thing, you guys, about energy work, about light language. It literally works with and for you no matter what you do for a job, no matter who you are, no matter where you are. These tools, I call them ascension technologies. And so I'm going to leave you with a couple of invitations. All right. The first, I'm so freaking jazzed about this energy of creativity. Again, the codes for creativity officially start on January 30th, which I think is next, not, it's like two Tuesdays from now, I think. Anyway, but I've added 3 free days, which go from January 26th, which is next Friday, through the 28th. It's free. Maybe you know, don't have the capacity to invest in the entire experience, and that is okay. Maybe you are someone who has been like, I've been listening to this wacky bee for years and I'm ready to find out more about how light language inspires me. Whatever the thing is about you, whether, maybe you've worked with me for years, I encourage you, no matter where you are on the path, whether you are, multi-billionaire or you are newer to the journey, to lean into this invitation that I am giving you, which is to join us for 3 complimentary days of the codes for creativity, which are part of the New Earth Prosperity Trifecta. Super easy. You just register. You'll receive a link next week to be able to join the Voxer broadcast. And what is so fun about Voxer is, like, I basically just boop in whenever the guides are like, here it is, here's the light language transmission, here are the codes for the day. And I come in, I share the codes. They're in the Voxer chat. Voxer, if you don't know Voxer, it's a walkie-talkie app. So it's awesome because there are no calls. You can tune into everything in your own time. And it's also a cool way for me to be able, I can share like photos and artwork and poems. There's a text component of it. I can write things if I want to. I can speak to people in human words as in addition to light language. It's a really fun way of me being able to share my gift with you and having it be super easy on your part. And it's free. So just join us, sign up. I'm really excited by how many people have already signed up and how many people are going to be part of the longer group. So that's one way. That's like the big thing. The other thing is I have the cosmic what the cosmic beauty codes, which are going to be rolling out in February. Also really excited about that. To the point you guys know, I am a hoe for all things beauty. I love fashion. I have been a big fan of beauty since I was a tiny, tiny toon. It has been one of my greatest joys. I love ornamentation. I love being able to really like honor my physical beauty and my vessel and all of the things. And these cosmic beauty codes are really important because how many women and men around the world use things like Botox and and I'm not judging. Listen, we live in a world where appearance does matter, right? There's a way where this is not to judge anybody, but there is so much literal poison in the things that we use to cultivate beauty right now, whether it's medical or be, in the cosmetics world, whatever the thing is, there is so much garbage in the things that we use. And the thing about using things like light language and energy medicine to help create a youthful glow. I'm going to be 45 in a couple of months. I'm going to be 45 on April 26th. And I possess a very youthful demeanor, and I always have. Friends of mine have always asked me, especially when I would go a few years where people wouldn't see me for a little while, and people would be like, "You literally look younger than when I saw you 5 years ago. What the F are you doing?" And I would tell people, it is my modality. It is that I have consciously used energy work to cultivate an internal fountain of youth, to cultivate vitality and an inner to outer glow. Yes, I understand that I am an objectively good looking human, right? That's my natural beauty, as it were. And I also really use again these codes, these ascension tools to work with and for my body, to help release. It's certainly not because I had a particularly easy life. Right? Like it's literally but yes, I take care of myself. Yes, I love myself. Yes, I do the things. I have a good routine, all the stuff. And it is these frequencies that I transmit. So if this is calling to you, if you've been like, I do everything, I have a hot beauty routine, but I want to feel more embodied, because it's not just about like looking better, it's about feeling better, it's about having more energy, it's about literally feeling more embodied in your own capacity to experience pleasure and joy and fun and looking your most beautiful, your most handsome. This is for men and women and any gender that exists, as it were, right? This is truly for everyone. And reframing the way that we treat ourselves is such an important part of, I think, what we're really moving into. Self-care, beauty, wellness, medicine, all of those things that relate to the stewardship of our own physical vessel are in desperate, motherfucking urgent need of a really deep level of revamping. Said it and I'll say it for years. Light language and energy work, the best mother effing beauty routine that exists. So this feels fun for you. There is also a code that I'll drop in the chat. Please join us for that. And the other thing is my wonderful light language certification program, which is called Future Medicine. You guys, it's so much bang for your buck. Like straight up. I'm going to do the Q&A that I will share with all of you at some point, either towards the end of next week or the beginning of the following, where you can tune in and hear me talk more about it. But the shortest version is, right, I created this modality, and I've been being shown for years that it was really important, especially right now, for me to teach you how to do the work that I do. And what's cool about my certification is, yes, it's about light language. Yes, it is definitely about light language. Light language and light codes are so freaking powerful, but you'll also learn how to channel. You'll also learn how to do energy work. You will learn how to work with people and animals, houses, structures, the land. There is so much that I, as someone who has devoted what amounts to my life to fine tuning and really cracking the code of how to be the glitch in the matrix so that this planet works with and for you and all of us. I've devoted my life to understanding the fastest ways from an ascension perspective of using these tools: energy work, frequency healing, vibration, sound. It's going to be so much fun. So if you have been feeling like, oh, I really want to learn how to do energy work this year, sign up for my certification program. Not only will you learn how to do energy work, and we will open your channel and we will find a way to be able to help you have this modality, which again I call future medicine, work for you. It does not matter whether you are an entrepreneur, whether you could literally, these tools will benefit you no matter what you do for work. And they are very important right now as we continue to move through this year for as many people to be trained in how to use this future wizardry, these really profound, powerful tools for ascension to help your community, to get incredible results for your clients and for yourself and for the world, right? It is time for something new. The old ways do not work, and there is no going back in time. Anyone who has been, sitting around waiting for things to quote unquote return to normal, that is not a thing. We are never going back. We are continuing to move into a completely different way of relating to ourselves, this planet, and the cosmos. And it is time to honor your sacred calling. I'm going to stop talking. I got in a real zone. You guys know I love to do this. I will see you all very soon if you have questions about anything that I shared. But like I said, sign up for the 3 free days of light codes, light language transmissions. Super freaking fun. Can't wait for that. And just work with me in all the ways, whatever feels vibrant and good. But it is definitely time to really up your own ascension journey. And if you're hearing this, then you know that it is true. I love you so much. It's an honor and a joy to have you be here in this space. I will talk to you soon. Bye bye.